streaming. This is Casey Turbos. I'm going to try live streaming a walk cycle. I haven't really done this. I messed around a little bit with it last night, and I couldn't really get Maya to show up very well. So I'm going to try an older version of Maya. I think this should work, and we'll see how it goes. If you like it, definitely give me a thumbs up. If you have any suggestions, if you have any ideas, subscribe to the channel. And yeah, let's just give it a shot here and see how it goes. All right, hope you guys are having a great day, and let's get started. So first I'm gonna flip over to screen share, and let's pop open Maya. And this, like I said, is Maya 2010. I usually use 2014. This is a little bit of an older one. I'm gonna pull up a rig here that I use for most of the walks. It's a goon rig. Pretty basic, but pretty lightweight and easy to start learning on. It comes from the How to Train, sorry, I'm spacing while I'm opening, How to Cheat in Maya series, which is a great book, especially if you're just starting. I use it for reference a lot since I'm always still learning new stuff, and sometimes I forget stuff too, so it's a great way to do it. So anyways, what we did, we opened the rig, and then I always like to start with a base so that there's some place for him to stand on here. So how you do that, you just go to create polygon primitives, do a cube, and kind of draw that out. Now let's start off. The most important thing, and this is, like I said, I'm just going to try a real simple, real vanilla one, just since it's the first day that I'm live streaming this stuff, and I kind of want to do real easy, just see if it works, see how everything goes. Anyway, so first most important thing that you're doing when you're starting to walk is to get into a really a nice little pose. So one of the things I like to do when I'm starting out posing is, first of all, start off with the feet and spread those out. Because when you're getting in that first, they call it a T pose, which is your original pose, it's really rigid. So I like to give the feet a little bit of a wider gait than they do. And I also like to rotate the feet outward so they're not pointing straight forward. Then kind of dip down the hips a little bit. You don't straight up and down. I find that seems a little rigid to me. I like to get a little bend in the knees. Also for quicker walk cycles, and especially with this rig, it's a little bit better to give a little give in the knees. Otherwise, you get a lot of pops when you're doing walks and everything. Then just rotate. So let's make the spine a little relaxed. I tend not to have the greatest posture myself, so I kind of usually reflect that in most of my work, just because it seems a little more natural than straight up and down. Most people I know don't have that great of posture, especially these days with everyone using computers and everything. All right, and next thing, let's go onto the head. Let's give it a little tip forward and rotate out on the neck and the head. And let's go to the arms and hang those down a little bit. Use that rotate Z here. And rotate Z there. And start off, pull this foot back a little bit, pull that one forward a little bit. Arms do the opposite of the feet. And there. And now we'll do the same with the other arm. And it looks like, oh, did the video freeze again? Shoot, oh, that stinks. I think that video froze again. So this might not work out as well as I had hoped. We'll see. Let's try switching back to just the live camera and see if we can't get this back working again. Wonder how long it goes before it freezes up, because it seems to keep a picture. So let's see. Let's get a screen share here. Again, sorry about this. Just doing a little bit of technical difficulties, I guess, here. Turn that off and screen share. I want to screen share that one. Share. Okay. I wonder how much of that froze up versus how much I lost. Let's see. So when I move them up and down, see, I just need to refresh it a little more or something. Okay. So then again, sorry if you guys, if that froze up a little bit for you. I'll try to keep a better eye on what stays streaming and not. So again, put a little give so the hips weren't straight up and down, a little bit of rotate in the spine, a little bit of rotate on the neck and the head. And now we spread apart the legs a little bit. And let's give a little more on the arms, just a little more. Again, this is going to be a real pretty vanilla one, just so that we can see if we can get this to stream correctly. You gotta keep an eye and make sure that goes. Okay, and now let's just loosen up the hands a little bit. Oh, no, it's still reflecting in the stream. I wonder what froze up there. Just have to remind myself to keep looking down at the other one to make sure it's streaming right. So what we're doing here is we're just going to loosen up the hands so we don't have just a real stiff, flat hand pose for the fingers and everything. And now we've got a little bit of curl and everything. Let's add a little bit of spacing in between the fingers. Sometimes I like to do groups of everything, but actually I kind of want to pull that one back a little bit more. Do something like that. That'll be okay for now. And let's switch to the other hand, and we want to pull these fingers back because this is swinging back. So and there. Yeah. All right. Still streaming this video. Let's wonder what it is that kicks the video on and off. Well, we'll figure that out. Let's just keep progressing forward here. And that thumb would probably be inward a little bit more in that swing. Okay, so now we've got, like I said, this is just getting set up with something vanilla. We'll do some more complicated ones if this ends up working. So now we just want to select everything and go ahead and set a key there. Now we're going to get the basic information here. And the first things that I usually start with are the hips and the feet, just to get those into the positions that we want them when we're starting. And I also like to work on 3s and 6s and 12s, and then tighten it down after that. But I feel like that's a good base place to start off of. It gives a good rhythm and a good setup so that you don't forget different steps and everything. Okay, so let's go ahead and get that photo moving. And let's check the video and make sure that's still streaming. It is. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and just think that the video is working now and just focus on animating so I don't keep getting distracted. So hopefully it doesn't stall out anymore. Okay, so you got just a basic step there, and then we want to do some, make sure the hips move forward. So we got this and this, and then usually when you're doing that, actually I'll come back to that later. Okay, so you set your key on 12. We're going to raise the foot up and kind of rotate it back a little bit. And now the next step, go set keep your key so it's flat on there, and just set it on 12. And then let's go ahead and raise this one up, rotate it back a little bit, and pull it forward, and set it back down. And a little bit further than you want. You kind of want to keep it pretty close to the same spacing when you're doing. So you can see there's space in between where the two shins are. I usually look at that to kind of give me a rough idea of if I've gone too far or not. And now we need to pull the hips forward a little more. So go ahead and do that. So now we've got real loose, and then I like to do 48 frames at a time. So let's bump the time slider up to 48 and make sure the video is still working. It is. Cool. And go ahead and set key there and move it forward again. And sometimes I do this a little bit more, is I just drag it forward and set the key, and then add the raise and drag behind in secondary. I don't know. It seems to be a little faster for me. I don't know. Probably about the same time. Okay, so set a key on this foot on 36 and then pull it forward to 48 there. So, and we also want to raise it up and drag it back. And then flats down there. Okay, and now what's happening? Oh, his feet are way too forward for his hips, so let's pull those hips forward again too. Okay. And now if we let that play, that should be just a reel, all the starting info we need for a walk again, really rough, but at least we got all the real pillars in that we need to get this started. Okay, now next thing I do, go into the graph editor. And let's clean that up a little bit. So just make sure there's no hiccups there. And let's add some up and down on the hips while I step in. So raise it up and down and up on the passing position. And down again. And up again. And down again. Up again. And down again. Okay. Yeah, let's kind of balance that out in the graph editor here. And I got to picture so I can kind of do a little more movement and motion just in my camera. I use my camera so it's not just that you're staring at, and also so I can split it up and show you what I'm doing in the graph editor, which is right here. I'm just kind of balancing out the Y values here. Okay, yeah, let's make sure that the video is still going here. And yeah, looks like it's still streaming the video pretty well. Okay, so now we've got a little up and down on the hips, not a lot, a little bit. Actually, that's way too few, so let's pull this down a little bit. And so we want to feel it. You don't necessarily need to really see it, but you just want to feel that there's a little bit of up and down. Still not enough. Sometimes it's better to really just push it and then pull it back, so you're not just nudging forward. It's a little bit. Let's add a teeny bit more. So, okay, I'm starting to feel that. Feel that there's a little bit of raise and lower on the passing position versus the contact position. And again, if you're kind of new to this stuff, the passing position is when the one foot passes the other versus the contact position, which is when both feet are flat on the ground. Okay. So then, and now after we got that information, usually I switch to the back view, and now I put in the side to side for the hips. Because when you're raising, when you're walking, your hips tend to lean. You can see, because you're putting your weight over this foot. So you want to lean that to the side and lean this one over to the other side and to the side again and to the other side again, and then to kind of the original, so you can kind of see that we got a little sway in the hips now. Now let's kind of balance that out, make sure we don't have too much on one side versus the other in the graph editor. Again, it's going to look something like this. And okay, so let's see if that ended up working. Yeah. Again, you don't want too much because this is pretty vanilla for this. And now let's add a little bit of rotate Z, so you have him actually leaning onto that, the weight onto that foot. And over and off. Okay. I was thinking a little bit, but it's too much, I think, side to side. So let's even that out a bit more. Again, going back into the graph editor, got to get picture in picture. So you can see what I'm doing here. Because I got a second monitor. I use a Cintiq for my second monitor when I'm doing these videos. Okay, now we're going to go up into the chest and kind of offset that lean that we had there. So I'm just going to take the rotate Z, scrunch it down over there, scrunch it down here, scrunch it down there, and scrunch it down there, and then go back to where it was. So then you see a little squash and stretch, a little bit of tip between the hips and the chest. Okay, that's working all right. Let's just make sure in the graph editor that we've got it set up pretty well. I hope the audio is coming through. I'll have to check when this is done, so hopefully everybody can hear me. Let's see how are we doing here. Okay. Now we want to do some rotate Y on the hips, and that's going to be so that the hips move in accordance with the feet as the feet are going, just to kind of lead and follow on each step. So we're going to rotate Y. As you can see, it makes him favor this leg that's forward. There, and then the opposite there, 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 and over there. So we're going to just kind of, okay, now we need to kind of balance that out and make sure that we've got enough on each side in the graph editor. Favoring one side too much because this is really pretty just a straightforward walk. Now we're going to offset that on the chest. So you want to take the, when it's the hips are favoring the leg, you want the chest to favor the arm swinging. So that's going to be, going to push it there, and then on that contact, you push it here. And again, we haven't animated the arms, so those arms will offset as well. Okay, so now you kind of got a little bit there and a little bit there. Not too bad, not too bad. And we're going to go into the graph editor and just balance it out. Those. A lot of this, a lot of how I animate is really kind of ish, just kind of getting a feel for how you want it to go. So it's a lot of not noodling too much, but definitely just, is that working? Nah, I don't like the feel of that. Messing around with the timing, messing around with the spacing, everything like that. Okay, so we've got the hips, and again, you can kind of see how that looks from over here. That's all working all right. I think I'll add a little more up and down on the hips. Not really feeling it enough. So let's see how that works. It's a little better. Now the thing that kind of stinks with this rig is the more up and down you add, the knees get pretty poppy. So unless I want to spend hours cleaning up knee pops, I tend to just favor them being bent a little more, just kind of for the sake of time. If this was real super fancy, you know, studio work, I definitely straighten out those legs a little bit more. But also those rigs, any rig that isn't just kind of a skeleton rig, isn't going to give you quite as noticeable knee pops when you do them. Okay. Anyways, let's get back into the arms. So we've got the basic position that we want for the first one. So let's swing this arm forward, and then swing it back, and swing it forward, and swing it back. Okay, so you can kind of see that now I've got a little real basic arm swing for each step, and I want to do the same thing on this side. Excuse me, going over the hiccups. Too much coffee? I don't know, something. Okay, and swing it forward, swing it back, and swing it forward again. Make sure the video is still streaming there. Oh, did we lose video? Nope, seems like it's still working. Okay, maybe it's just a little delayed from what I was doing. Let me minimize the graph editor here. And sorry about that, just making sure that I'm actually still getting video because I lost video last night when I was trying this out. Okay, so let's make sure this is, if I'm playing this, okay, yeah, it's still streaming. Okay, now we've got like a basic arm swing going, now we're gonna get into the forearms. And I like to really play up the forearms and really break the joints just to get a real loose movement. So we're gonna pull that back, probably a little more than is natural for most people, but it also gives a real looseness to the swing of the arms. And I tend to always exaggerate that more. I find that I like the way that looks. So again, you're gonna kind of see. But then if you look, the wrist looks really, really stiff. So let's loosen that up. So get into there. And when we had the arm swings, we kept those on the same time. I mean, because the feet, so those were on 12s. Most animation books usually do walks on 13s. And that's probably a little more accurate. But for the sake of time and speed and being able to put stuff out every day and having kind of a system that works to start off with, I keep everything on 12s. It's real, allows me to keep focused on things and to know kind of where I can break things up and make every walk start out a little more uniform and then go off from there. So I usually keep things on 3s, 6s, and 12s and then break it off from there. So anyways, we've got the arms going on 12, so so the forearm split I do in the middle, so that would be on 6, 18, 30, 42, and then back on 48. And then I'll keep that loose there. Now I wanted to move on to the wrist, and for that I usually keep kind of the same system going there, and sometimes delay it or offset it a frame or two to break it up a little more. So let's see how. Still feels a little rigid, so let's exaggerate that a little bit more. Pull our graph editor back up here, and it just feels too stiff to me. We don't want it to be too loose. This is still pretty much just a basic walk. So we don't want crazy arms on this. That feels a little more loose to me. Okay, yeah, that's feeling all right. And let's go to the other side, and we're gonna want to break it up the same way. So try to go in. You're swinging back on the arm swing. You want to raise the forearm up, and vice versa. When it's swinging forward, you want to pull it back. And you can always do it the other way, but at least for like kind of a more regular walk, that's how you do it. And again, you can see when we do that, it really loosens up that forearm, but the wrist is still real stiff. So let's get that loosened up. Again, same thing as the arm is swinging backward. You want to have the forearm and the wrist delay and favor the position that it was just at in the arm. And that'll give it more of a loose feeling. Okay, so let's see how that works. Yep, that's pretty good. Sorry, I'm doing things. I kind of the way I find the walk that works is if I do noises or movements to it. I find that helps me get the timing right and get a feeling right if I'm making little sound effects and everything to it. Okay, next thing I want to do, let's add a little bit of movement to the neck so the neck doesn't get so stiff. So let's add a little bit of a head bob there. So now it's just going to dip down on the passing position. And with head movements, I'm always a little bit, I just noodle with those. I don't necessarily have a particular way that I like to do those out. They always end up being a little bit different. But usually it's every 6 frames you want to do one on the passing position and then on the contact. So let's see. Yeah, it's too peckish, like he's pecking at something. So first but we got something base to work with, and that's what it's all about. And then noodling it and switching around and playing with it from there. So just gonna, overall it's too much. I don't want to really see it. I just want you to kind of feel it, like the viewer or anyone this would be for, to just kind of view it. So that's a little better. But I want to actually have the head tip the other way. Instead of pecking out, just have it like pull in a little bit. And also it's a little bit too much. So again, we're working in the graph editor and we're just rearranging that stuff. Oh, I should make sure that the video is still streaming. Yeah, okay, cool. Okay, so that's gonna, there, that's not too bad. What would it be like if we switched the neck to being the other way around? Let's try that out. So, okay. Yeah, I think that's more what we want. So it's just real subtle. Let's actually exaggerate a little bit more than that. That's almost, seems almost non-existent to me. And this is going to be a little bit different than my usual workflow because there's a little bit of lag and delay because I'm streaming it all too, so I apologize for that. Yeah, we definitely got to exaggerate that a little bit more. It's almost too subtle now. And one thing, if it's too subtle, let's just try offsetting it in the frame. That might help too. So I'll take the neck controller and we'll just push it 1 frame back. Let's see. Not enough. Let's try 2 frames. Yeah, I'm starting to feel that a little bit. And let's do, actually, we try 3 frames on that. Still feels a little bit too soft. Let's actually move on to something else right now, and I'll come back and noodle with this a little bit more. Okay, so another thing that I like to do once I got most of the basics working is do the actual kind of butt control. It's not really the hips, it only controls this one section rather than the whole upper area. So you kind of do the same thing that you do with the hips. You're going to do favoring the weight as it moves from foot to foot. And you're also going to favor each next step. So forward and back on those, forward and back on those. It just kind of exaggerates that a little bit more. And then let's actually add a little bit of squash and stretch on the hips on the up and down position. So it's just going to be a rotate. Let's do back and forward and back and forward and back and forward and back and forward. And again, that's going to look kind of lots, so we're just going to offset that with the chest. So that's going to up and back and up and back and up and back and up and back. So just a little bit more squash and stretch on the hips there. Okay, now let's just clean that up that we did. So again, you're going to see something kind of like that. So you just kind of want to even that out so that it's not too bad. And I'll try and do that here, give you an example of kind of what you do to even it out. Well, we might need to re-exaggerate this stuff again too, but this way it kind of gives a more even feeling to it so you don't get any jerkiness in there. Yeah, looks like we're still going, the stream's still going and everything. Cool. If this all works out, I'll just live stream every day that I do these, and if people have questions, or I can help somebody out there learn some animation tips, or have animation questions, or just want to talk about animation or art buddies or any of that kind of stuff. Okay, now let's do the same in the chest. And we're just going to even all that stuff out from that little squash and stretch that we added there. A lot of work goes into a walk there. A lot of people say that one of the hardest things to get into when you're first starting to animate, because there's so many different parts and it's all moving at the same time and moving at the same time, in that everything is moving but at different times, and that the arms swing on one part and the feet move on another part, and the hips go and the head goes and the chest goes and the hands and the fingers and all of that stuff is moving. It's you know, what, for a full body shot, you're not just top of the head and pulling the hips side to side. Okay, so see, that just adds a little bit of compress and release on the hips to give it a little more. Still gotta fix that neck, it's a little too stiff for me. But let's look at the feet again, because I don't know how I'm gonna noodle with the neck. Okay, so let's go into the translate rise. That's the raising up and down, and kind of balance those out a little bit more. And let's look at the rotate on the feet, and the rotate is going to give it that angled position, so you can see that angle there. Make sure the stream's still working, so you can see that. Looks like it. Okay, and just even those guys out. Let's see. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then go into the translate Z, and translate Z is the kind of left and right, at least with this rig. And I like to kind of favor a little more forward than back, and also take the controllers here and flatten those out, get this in, get that out, just so it's a nice smooth curve there. And same on this side, flatten that out, and favor it towards the contact position a little more. So let's see, we're looking at this foot here. You can see that it's a little bit different. This one's kind of right in the middle. And we're going to go over there. And just do the same thing. Take that, put it up. And like I said, this one was right in the middle before, so we want to key just that. So to translate Z, key selected. That'll give us a key right there. Flatten this side out there. And raise that up. And give that a nice look to it. Okay, so let's go back. And now let's add something on the toes, because right now I got really flat feet. So I'll take the toe controller and drag it down. And then this is the contact, so let's go back a little bit and give it 2 frames. 2 frames is easy. If you want it to land hard, give it 1 frame. I'll give it a flop. And then we want to do the same thing here. So drag it down there, lift it up here, and then so you got a nice little up on there and overlap. Let's kind of balance it. First one seems a little too much, and the second one seems a little too light. So let's go in there and try to find a happy medium there. Okay. And then again, it's probably still going to be kind of a choppy frame rate for this stream video, so I'll definitely play blast this and upload that up to the channel. This should go up tomorrow because I already have a lock set up for today, so you can see the actual real-time movement of this tomorrow. Usually how the videos are, I do kind of 1 day ahead, even though I have like probably 40 or 50 of these guys sitting around waiting to get uploaded. But if I don't like them, I'll usually just throw them in a file. Anyway, so we got a little bit of overlap on the toes now. That seemed a little too low for those steps. Let's raise those steps up a little bit more. So let's take the translate by. Not too much because you don't want it to, I don't know, I tend to scuff my feet and shuffle a little bit, so I tend to usually have my walk cycles do the same thing. That looks a little better. I still feel like we could use a little more up and down on these, so let's on the hips. Yeah, it's a little bit of a delay for the frames. It's hard to get a good sense of everything on here, so I'll definitely upload this, just the video itself later. I'll have to probably check it out again after the stream's over just to make sure that there's nothing. So anyways, what we're going to do next is add a little bit of overlap in the fingers from the sway of the arm. And these are going to favor whatever the last position that the arm was at. So when the main base of the arm was forward, the fingers are going to be forward even after that. So take all of the fingers and we'll drag them back here, drag them back there, go into 42, drag them back there, drag them back there, drag them back there, that way, and okay, so let's see how that looks. Yeah, that's all right. Not too much, but seems like enough. Okay, now the next thing I like to do is with any sort of hand movement, I usually lead with the index finger and have the ring follow that. So we're going to go into the graph editor here and go for the index spread. So using the spread right here and just push it forward one frame. And same with the little spread, you take that and I'll just pull it back one frame. And that'll kind of make it so that everything doesn't hit at the same frame. So you kind of get a little bit of delay and overlap on there. And next, the thumb is a little too static, so let's put some movement into that thumb as well. So as the hand's swinging forward, we'll have the thumb pulled back. And then when it's at its further notch back, we'll swing forward, inward, and forward. So let's see how that looks. Yeah, that's all right. And the rest of the thumb feels a little stiff, so we're going to put a little bit on the thumb mid, and we'll do one frame after that to go in, and then swing out, swing in, and swing out. So there you go. And just a little bit on the tip of that thumb too, just to keep it alive. Okay, so let's see how we're doing. That looks all right. Everything on this seems pretty decent except for the head movements. Still don't like those head movements. So let's go into the other hand and do pretty much what we did with the first hand. But we'll just do that in this one. And then we'll get back into the movement of the neck and the head and see if we can't liven that up and make that a little more exciting. Feels too rigid and too stiff. Like I said, that's one of the areas that I always kind of tend to futz around with a little bit more than I should. It should become a little more natural to me, but I always like to do it a little bit different and try to get a good feel to it. Again, we're doing the same thing that we did on the other side of the hand, just kind of at the opposite time. When this one's swinging forward, this one's going to be swinging back. So mess with the spreads here. And it depends on what the hand is doing. If the hand would be rotated more forward like that, doing this instead of on the spreads, I'd be doing this on the base, mid, and tip controllers there. Make sure the stream's still working. Yep, looks like it's still going. Okay. Then we're going to offset that by having the index finger go forward a frame, the little finger, or the little spread going back a frame to kind of loosen it up. There you go. That's pretty good. And then let's add a little bit of movement on the thumb. Back there, squish it in, pull it back, squish it in. Okay. Pull it back, squish it in, pull it back, and squish it in. And let's do the thumb tip. Put out, squish it in, put out, and squish it in. Maybe instead of having the head go that way, let's have it do a little bit of side-to-side tip. Maybe that's what we're missing. Okay. So let's go in here and let's do the neck here. So it's there. We're going to have it lean a little bit here. And when it's the hips are there, let's have it lean on that side there, and then back to neutral. A little much though. Let's tone it down a little bit. We'll add a little bit into the head itself. Let's see from this view if that even shows up a little bit. Yeah, that looks all right. Now let's add a little more into the head. There's a little too much now. Okay, so let's tone that down way down. Let's actually just do the reverse of what I have. Again, I don't think you really want to feel like he's purposely doing his head or just hits too heavy. You just want to kind of feel it. Yeah, that looks a little better. Let's add a little more up and down on the neck. Just by switching it up a little bit. There we go, that feels okay. Again, keep in mind this is a real just vanilla cycle. Real kind of almost neutral. Again, the arms are a little bit exaggerated, but I always like to exaggerate the arms. Tone those down if you're really trying to go for something neutral. Maybe a little more bounce on the head too, up and down. Bounce. Yeah, that seems like that's working right. Okay, now we got this going. Again, if you want to see it from the back, let's see how we got the head tilting side to side. Got the hands moving. We got the hips going back and forth. A couple little steps there. One thing I did want to do, I don't think I went back in and added some up and down on rotate X for the hip controller. So let's put that back in. So we're going to pull that up a little bit, and push it back, pull it up, push it back, pull it up, push it back, pull it up, and push it back. Feels like it might be a little too much now, but so we'll just tone it down. And let's even out the graph editors kind of a little wonky on the rotate, so let's make those a little more balanced. So let's go down to like 4, 4, and do the same on the rotate Z's here. And this one hurts already. I'm discussing a lot because I did it, so I'm sorry if there's any lulls in the conversation. I'd love to be able to do music on here, but I know there's a lot of copyright stuff. So what we're doing is we're just going to bump it, have the hips, this basically button controller delay to frame, just to add a little bit more overlap and everything on there. So let's see how that looks. And from the side, I think we could probably tone that down a little more. So just take everything we have and bump it down. So if it was at like a 4, just put it in 2. Especially on the rotate X, that still feels a little bit too much. So let's try now. See how that looks. Yeah, it's not too bad, not too shabby. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is just, like I said, when you're first doing that initial pose, one of the things is really just breaking up that T pose kind of shape that you have. So I always like to kind of mess around with the mouth. So do a little bit of up and down on the mouth, and if you drop the negative on the and let's go to the lower lip, kind of stick that out, give them a little bit of a kind of pout. Maybe I always like to have kind of an underbite. I don't know, for some reason I like that. And when you're doing mouth movements, one cool tip, you always want to do a translate and a rotate, because your jaw, when it's moving, it lowers and it swings. So you kind of want to mimic that as well when you're doing jaw movements. Don't do too much with the face, because like I said, it's not going to be a head-on, and that would be a whole nother video to show just doing the face stuff. But we are going to make it just so if we do a side view, it's not too flat. So let's add a little bit more in the eyebrows. What do you say? do some eyebrow raises. Ooh, 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 ooh. Oh, oh yeah. And a little more here. And let's run northern lands, move them up a little bit. And let's move the upperwards up a little bit too. Not too much. It's kind of like negative. Like that. Not too much. Just to kind of switch the profile view on that. Okay. Now, one thing we could do to add a little more to this, let's do a little bit in the shoulders here. So if this shoulder's leading one, let's push it forward. And let's back. Let's pull it back. Push it forward. Pull it back. And this is probably going to be too much. But again, it's always okay to go big and then pull it back once you're there. Now I got a little more movement in that shoulder. And another thing I like to do, I like to push that so it kind of leans to your frame. So that way you have the shoulder leading, then you have the arm, then you have the forearm, then you have the hand, and then you have the fingers. You have a nice overlap and drag throughout that arm there. And let's do the same on the other side. So for this one, I'm going to pull it back and push it forward, pull it back, push it forward, pull it back, and then again, set it so it's going leading the movement, so you want to push it forward a frame. Let's see how that looks. Let's even that out. It feels a little bit like it isn't as even as it could be. Make sure the video is still streaming here too. Let's see. Yep, looks like it's still streaming. Okay. Cool. And the only other thing that I'd probably do with a simple walk like this would be let's add a little bit of jaw delay up and down on there. So let's do a little bit of up and down and up. Okay, it's just another thing you can do to add some overlap and bounce and everything to your thing, add a little more movement to it. No, that's way too much. It looks like he's kind of mumbling or something to himself. So let's tone that down a little bit. Thank you.
Okay. If the phone rings, I don't have my phone minutes, so if the phone rings twice with the same number, just pick it up.
Sure will. That was the lovely and talented Sarah you just heard there. Go off, run some errands. So let's see. Still seems like a little too much. Let's keep toning it down here. Again, like I said, one of the great things about animation is futzing around with it. And, yeah, somewhere in here. There you go. Okay, sorry about that. And yeah, one of the great things about it is being able to just play around. It's, you know, it's very playful animation. Sometimes it's frustrating, but let's move the eye controller that's bugging me. That so just push that forward. It's really a playful art form. It's figuring it out. And let's delay the jaw a little bit more too. Maybe one frame. We'll try one or maybe two. Let's see. All right. So now that that's set up, I feel like that's working all right. Again, I'll probably have to tinker with it once the stream's done to make sure, because there's a little bit of lag and everything, so I'm not getting the usual frame rate that it would to be able to have my a pretty decent animation eye on this. Okay, so next thing that I do, actually, wow, don't listen to me here. One thing that you should do before you even get started on here is definitely save off your work before you get too far, because if Maya crashes, it's gone. And I didn't do that till the almost very end of the video. So don't do like me in that area. Save it right away and save multiple times. Control S, it's your friend. Save, save, save. Because I have had files crash on me, and that sucks. Nobody likes that, especially when you haven't saved. So save a lot, save often. Don't be afraid to save too many times. You can always delete it if you need more space for all the versions that you saved and everything too. Okay, so now that's working all right. So let's go ahead and get rid of the bottom grid there, and let's take off. Normally what I do if you're running a little slow under the show is just do none and do nerd curves, nerd surfaces, and polygons. That's all you really need. The rest of the stuff, at least for loose while you're doing the animation, is you just kind of slow it down when you're just trying to get everything. But we're getting ready to play blast this thing, so let's turn off the nerd curves. And for this rig, it doesn't really turn off everything. There's still some manipulators, so I'll just highlight those and these guys and that and feed controllers. If you're working with a different rig, it'll probably be different than this. But again, then you just do this, create a new layer once you have all those highlighted, and turn the visibility off on those, and that'll make it turn blank. So we're just going to see how that looks. Again, looks pretty good. I'm getting a little bit of lag here, so I'll definitely tweak this a little bit after this video, but that seems like that's working pretty well. And then go into your time slider and hit play blast, and we're just going to do live. Am I spelling that right? Why is my brain farting on me right now? I'm pretty sure that's right. Fuck. Yeah, okay. I don't know why my brain is spacing on me. I just don't like it when people misspell stuff. It bothers me. Okay, then we're just gonna hit play blast, and let's watch and see if that works. Yep, that's pretty vanilla, but not too bad for the first time we're doing a live stream on this. It worked out all right. Okay, so once you have that, save that off, and then I like to render out so that you can have an image to put over the top. So render, go to render current frame, save that, and then we'll file save that as I need to do it as a Photoshop file so I can go in there and add background information for it. So that's going to be live hello rock. All right, well, I hope you got something out of that. You had some ideas or learned something new. If you have any questions or any comments or any advice or anything, definitely hit me up. You can comment, you can like, subscribe, anything. Like I said, if you got stuff that I should work on that I need to fix, or ideas for new walks or other kind of things that you'd like me to show off, or kind of guides for Maya or anything. Like I said, I'm not hugely, I really like to draw, and I need to get more drawing videos up. But basic and intermediate stuff I should be able to help you with. Okay, well, I guess that'll do it for today. I hope this all works out. I'll watch it later and make sure that that the video streamed all right and the audio was okay. Thanks for bearing with me watching this. Hopefully you guys learned something new, or at least had a little bit of fun watching it. Go ahead and check out my Twitter, my Ustream, Facebook, blog, whatever it is. I hope you guys have a wonderful, awesome, amazing day. Love y'all, and I will catch you hopefully tomorrow if this all worked. All right.